magla-live react tayo dito sa Sit Down with the Broadcast Media interview ni President Bongbong Marcos. Ayan.
So I'll
Ayos
be
ah.
asking you two questions, but you have to forgive me that the first question will have a lot of context in it for agriculture. Losses are driving farmers to desperation. Some farmers already taking their own lives. In Davos, you said you would only step down as Agri Secretary if you've ticked off items in your bucket list. My question is, what is in that list? And what will you specifically do to implement for farmers to feel a change in their lives today, in the short and medium term?
As a matter of fact, I'm glad you brought that up because we always have been talking about production, non-importation, etc. And we have to always remind ourselves that what we are really talking about is the livelihood of the farmers as well. Not only the supply of food, but of the pricing of food, but also the livelihood of farmers and the future of farmers. I mean, I think it's a much quoted statistic that in the Philippines, the average farmer is 57, 58 years old, and the young people are not that interested to enter into farming. So there are all of these multifaceted problems that we face in terms of agriculture. So again, in the short term, the increasing prices of food products is alarming, and that's why we now have to, whatever we do, we must import. I think my sentiments about importation are clear, but it is an emergency situation that has been brought about by neglect of the agricultural sector for many, many years. And therefore, our production is well below our demand. Therefore, we must import. So, because of the chaos that we saw within question when it came to sugar, when it came to the onions, we did not know how much of the commodity was actually in the country. We're starting to get a handle on it now, and so we are going to put in terms of sugar. I mentioned specifically before that we will from now on maintain a 2-month buffer stock. That is to mitigate the speculation. Alam mo, normal yan sa negosyante. Pag alam nila magkaka-shortage, they will keep it hanggang tumaas yung presyo.
Right.
Maybe you can call that hoarding, but it's a business practice. And that's what we hope to avoid. In terms of onions naman, ganun pa rin ang sitwasyon. We are not producing as much as we consume, and therefore we still have to import. But the schedule of importation, both of sugar and onion, all of the other commodities, the schedule is very, very important. It's not just a question of one lump importation at the beginning of the year. It has to come in at the proper time. So you're not competing with local farmers. So that's a very simple first step. Pag maayos na yan, that is one box that I've been able to tick. Now
it's good na nasabi na ni President Bongbong Marcos yan na yung schedule ng importation. Kasi mga kutsero, kung maalala nyo, ngayon po ay nag-import tayo ng 22,000 metric tons ng sibuyas. The same time, kung saan harvest season ng mga magsasaka natin ng sibuyas. So it's a good thing that President Bongbong Marcos already mentioned na one of his priorities is ayusin ang schedule ng importation. Kasi yan yung problema eh. Ito nga si William Dar nga tinatanggi na nag-contribute siya sa problema natin sa agriculture when his situation during that time, tulad na nababalitaan natin sa Karambola, has been very, very, yung kanyang performance is least spectacular, to say the least. So, it's good na at least now, may pangahawakan tayo kay President Bongbong Marcos na sa kanya mismo nang galing na yung schedule o yung panahon ng pag-aangkat ay pag-aaralan. Hindi ho katulad nung naging sistema na ng DA na angkat na lang ng angkat hanggat nang walang karimuatan.
But we come back to the problem of production. So that again, we still have to put into place. Once I know that the value chain has already been put together, never mind that it is functioning yet, but we already know what needs to be done in each part of that value chain, and we have the means and we have a plan. Then we will have a secretary who will then take my
Execute.
place and will
Okay.
implement that plan. Basta alam natin yung nakakaintindi doon
Now I
ating
understand.
ginagawa. So those are the
Okay, now I understand. Okay, kasi 'di ba recently dito sa live stream natin, and I've been very vocal about it. Um sinasabi natin na I think it's time na President Bongbong Marcos not just appoints but if kung ayaw niya mag-appoint, get someone who will oversee. Kumuha ng isang tao magbabantay sa DA habang siya yung naka-focus dun sa big picture, merong umaasikaso ng day-to-day operations ng Department of Agriculture. So now at least alam natin what the plan is. 'Di ba? Now at least alam natin what the plan is. Alam natin ngayon na si presidente wants to be involved, gusto niyang maging kabilang doon sa pagplano ng kung paano maa-address yung iba't ibang problema ng supply chain. So ang gusto niya, bago siya mag-step down, nakaayos na yung mga plano. Nakaano na, kumbaga, ang gagawin na lang ng secretary is execute kung ano na yung nakaplano. Wala na siya ibang gagawin. Execution na lang. So ibig sabihin, bago siya bumaba sa let's say sa parte ng pagsasaka, meron na siyang KPIs, key performance indicators, key results areas, etc., etc. Gagawin na nila 'yon. Tapos si secretary, ang gagawin na lang niya i-execute yung resulta or yung plano, yung strategic plan. Ganoon din sa iba't ibang parte, sa logistics, etc., etc., ng iba't ibang parte ng supply chain. Is it a good strategy? Well, sa amin po sa OrgDev, sa organizational development, having a plan is always good. Okay po 'yun. Maganda 'yung lagi tayo may plano. Ang gobyerno po natin ay napakagaling gumawa ng plano. Being part of the government and doing all of these things for them for the past 12 years. Nagawa ko na po 'yan, no, iba't ibang strategic planning workshops sa iba't ibang mga ahensya. At magaling po sila gumawa ng plano. But the execution part, yun po yung doon po sila kadalasan sumasablay. Sa execution. So, si Presidente, ang kanyang focus, bago siya mag-appoint ng kanyang DA Secretary, gusto niya, makita muna niya, mailatag muna yung plano, and it can work. Bakit? Kasi siya mismo alam niya kung saan yung direksyon ng DA bago matapos ang kanyang termino. Yun ang una. Pangalawa, kayang-kaya niyang pagalitan si secretary kapag hindi nasunod yung nasa plano. Di ba? Sasabihin lang niya, teka, napag-usapan na natin to DA secretary. Bakit nagbago? Nilatag ko na nga sa'yo eh. Yan na nga lang gagawin mo, wala kang ibang gagawin. I-execute na lang yan. Hindi mo pa nagawa. Mga ganong klase. So, hopefully, starting with the strategic plan, that's a good start. At sana ay sana mangyari siya within the year, no? Kasi he cannot be bogged down by the details of the different issues of DA, no? Kailangan mailatag na niyan agad, hopefully before the end of this year, para makatutok siya sa mga ibang problema ng Pilipinas. Kasi a lot of things in the Philippines need his attention. So, yun. That's a good strategy. Hopefully it will work. But again, sabi ko nga po sa inyo, sa amin sa OrgDev, everything starts with a good strategic plan. And that's what PBBM wants to have.
essential elements that I'm talking about. There's some reorganization that needs to be done in the
Yeah,
Department of
reorg.
Agriculture for the simple reason that we are doing different things from what they were doing, what we were doing
Ganun
before.
talaga. Resulta
And
yan ng
so
strat
we
plan
have
eh.
to restructure the bureaucracy
Tama yan.
in like fashion.
I wanted to ask, you said you have a bucket list that needs to be ticked off. Would you share some? I mean,
Well, that's
Yun nga eh, isa
That's
yun.
basically it. I mean, you know,
Yun na yun.
within that subject matter, hindi lang yan. I mean, if you go into detail, there are still very many things that we need to do. In terms of production, we have to help the farmers. We have to enter that we are trying to adopt new techniques for the for farming that will actually
Mhm.
that we will be able
Palpak
to use
audio.
new technology, new varieties, start with the R&D, all that of you know, and especially in the area of agriculture, the overarching issue is climate change. We're having a very tough time scheduling these things because the weather keeps changing. And that one of the reason I've also made contact with several other countries and my counterparts in several countries is that we are trying to develop what we refer to as non-traditional suppliers. And because of the price of fertilizer, the lack of export of wheat, rice, of course, is another thing that we import. Corn, we were going to have to import. But with the shocks that have hit the global economy and with the supply chain problems that we see everywhere, then that is something that we have to work around. And the way to do it is to have many sources of supply so that whatever happens, we have somewhere to go. Hopefully down the road, in a few years, we no longer have to worry about non-traditional supply because we will be able to produce enough for ourselves.
Comments po ang mga senador na mag-appoint na po kayo ng
No.
secretary po sa DA and other groups
Yeah,
para daw
parang
po
nasagot na
mas
yan kanina.
matutukan ang ahensya. Your comment on that?
Nasagot niya kanina.
For me, there really are things that I can do that if there was a secretary and he or she did it, hindi magagawa pero matagal, madaming diskusyon, and they'll have to come up with. Well, the president they cannot say no to. And pag hindi nila ginawa yung utos ko, pwede kong sitahin. Yung secretary, pwede, alam mo na.
Pwede pang hilutin.
It can still be may pakiusap pa. And so that's what I bring to the position. Is that when I make a decision, I say, this is what we need to do, this is the plan, every one of you follow this plan. You do this, you do that, magtatasking tayo. Kailangan mo sunod yun. And if not, then I have, I can chastise them, I can move them aside, push them into other positions, etc., etc., etc. But generally speaking, if the president asks you to do something, they'll do it. If somebody else will do it, they may do it. They probably do it, but they may not. So we want to take that wiggle room out of that system.
Okay, so kung kayo po ay nasa US, UK, Canada, Italy, France, Spain at Ireland, gamitin nyo na po ang SendWave sa inyo pong mga remittance needs. Dahil kapag nagpadala po kayo through SendWave, wala po yung fees. Wala po yung remittance fees, mga kotsero. Kaya yun, no, gagawin nyo lang, i-download nyo lang ang SendWave app sa Apple App Store at sa Google Play. At i-rehistro nyo ang inyong account details at pwede na kayo magpadala sa inyong mga minamahal sa buhay sa pamamagitan ng GCash, cash pickup sa iba't ibang pawn shops at iba't ibang mga bangko sa Pilipinas. At kung gagamitin nyo po ang aking promo code na Coach Jarret ay makakakuha pa kayo ng $10 free credit sa inyong unang padala. So huwag niyo pong kalimutan gamitin ng SendWave. Once again, kung kayo po ay nasa US, UK, Canada, Italy, France, Spain, Ireland, and Belgium.